I'll be talking about my book, and which obviously I would like to share my sort of stories, how I have become, what I have become, where I have come from, and what is my life is all about. It's just not cricket, but there's much bigger picture, in my life. What I would like to show. What I have gone through in my journey to achieve whatever I have achieved in life.
So I mean, I played at Chelsea for a wee period of time, and we had a big blonde centre forward who played for England. And he's mentioned in the book, and there's the odd story about him, but it's more about his gambling addiction and the troubles that then became bigger in sport after that. But I spent more time talking about a chap called John McNaught, who only played a half a dozen games, but he was a much more interesting story.
Pele said that Banks made what was, to my mind, the best save of the World Cup, not because it was my header. I just am recognising the fact. The header was hard, surprisingly hard, and in the corner, the keeper's dive was instantaneous and efficient. And then Nobby Stiles, the England defender, said, when he saved from Pelé, more brilliantly it seemed than any goalkeeper had ever saved before, we leapt up from the bench and shook our heads in wonderment. Banksy, in his rather dour way, said he didn't really know what all the fuss was about. He was merely doing his job, and if anyone cared to remember, he had made equally good saves back at home in bread and butter league games.
But on the day, just like that, I saw and I found out swimming discipline also was there. And then I gave my name. I went there, corporate Olympiad. I was the only disabled swimmer. All others are non-disabled. So they were also having so many hesitations whether to allow me or not. Finally, they allowed by arranging some four swimmers along with me to save me in case of drowning. But without taking their support, I completed 100-meter, and that was one of the euphoric moments in my life, because they gave me most encouraging sports person award, and the way the entire crowd cheered me up as if I won Olympic gold medal. So that was an euphoric moment. So that, that was the starting
Okay.
point.
Pick one shot from each batsman from that innings which has stayed with you. Just one shot, fatafat, one shot.
That Azhar's absurd hook of Donald. Arunava just mentioned. You should watch. If you watch it on YouTube, you have to see Donald's expression after that shot. He was left clueless. That expression can. I mean, that expression tells it all. He hooked Donald, who had been frightening throughout their tour, off almost of the front foot in front of square and found the gap. It was an absurd shot. I mean, I'm saying it absurd. Donald's expression told it even more. You don't get to see a shot like that.
Yeah.
So, for example, one of the major stories from that time was that India, in a tour game, decided to struggle to Jack Norega so that he plays the test match, and they do not, so that Lance Gibbs, they play him well, so that West Indies do not play Lance Gibbs, but in fact the two of them never played a tour game together on that match. On that tour, they played two separate tour games, although they played a test match together, which was the Guyanese test match. So these are the kind of things that we had to be on the lookout for, and to ensure that each story added up with the scorecards and the other factual details.
But Khanum Haji was actually the first Indian woman to win a national championship in 1947. And before that, there were all British origin, the women who were there, who had won tournaments, and she won the first national grass court championship played at the South Club in Calcutta, and she went on to win it for the next 2 years, and then she went off, got married, wasn't around, and then at the age of 35, she comes back, and she again starts winning. So it's just incredible. And then not only did she win that year, she won a whole bunch of tournaments in Western India that year, and then she went and won. I think it was in Bombay, a golf tournament. So she was just an incredible sports person.
I'll not tell you the name. It's a very senior player who was once the one of the senior most selectors in Gopi's era only. And there was a time when I called that selector because he had chaired that meeting. And I said, "Sir, you have picked these two names, and did you follow that they were injured or something?" And they said, "No, I went in the meeting. I didn't. I had not studied who. So, can you do something from the next time? Can you send me some data before the selection meeting on which
Good
players are
Lord.
doing what?" And I said, "Sir, but how will I know what you're going to select?"
Do you think the vigilance officers and all now are really doing a good job, especially of
I
BCCI
I
and
think
others?
today it's much simpler to track down, than it was some years ago. It's much simpler, but I think the laws of the uh, country also needs to be changed. Like in India, it's not an offense to fix a match. It's really not an offense. The only thing you can pull somebody up for may be cheating, but otherwise people can get away with match fixing, and that's a fact.
Even his father, who told me that they were very upset and very disturbed by Ganguly's obsession for a comeback, because they also thought that he's not relaxing, and right in the middle of the night they heard these sounds. They went to see in his room, and this guy is doing ball practice you do in front of the mirror at 2 o'clock in the night. So that obsessed he was with his comeback. And I think when he came back, he probably was the fittest ever he had been in his cricketing career, because he worked so hard. And that is, I think, a comeback which is very remarkable. Which shows the fighting resolve Ganguly has.
Badminton was invented by these colonial officers stationed in India in the mid late 19th century. So in 1873, it was that these British officers started playing it, and then it became particularly popular in Pune. And so the game was called Pune at the time. You're probably familiar with that. And then it was brought to the UK when these boys went on holiday, and there it became extremely popular at the House of Badminton, the Duke of Beaufort's estate, and then it was renamed Badminton. And from there, just in the Commonwealth exploded. Within 20 years or less even, it was taken up all over the Commonwealth. They started the Badminton Association of England, and there were tournaments and so on. So that was the first kind of very interesting side to me, that it's so intricately linked with India's colonial history.